Right. My hand will be immortalized there. It is recording, right? Yep. All right, so the last test will be in December, and we will not be here, because after Thanksgiving, we do not meet face-to-face again for the rest of the semester. And who knows what's going to happen in the spring. Never really been fond of the take-home test, but you know, reality is I don't have much choice about that. So I hate multiple choice tests because I'm projecting and assuming everyone else hates them too. So even though you do have a multiple choice test next Tuesday. So the way it works, the only resources that I am forbidding you are me and any other physics instructor or tutor. Now, here's the caveat. I really don't want you working together, but I'm not saying you can't do it. What I've done is I've set up a system to make it disadvantageous to you. The more people who get a problem right, the less the problem is worth. So if you have two students who are working together and one of them is clearly stronger than the other student, the stronger student will actually, it'll be to the detriment of the stronger student. When the pandemic first hit, the first test after that, so basically the group in spring, I didn't have that in there, and clearly a large chunk of them worked together on it. And there was a careless error that was so incredibly stupid, and I saw it on more than half the tests. And I was so disgusted by that, I thought I need to discourage people working together. The other bit is, I think one of the big mistakes students make on the take-home tests is they walk in thinking, oh, I can look at my book, so I don't have to study as hard. From my point of view, you need to basically go in as if it was an in-class test. That is the preparation you need. And then looking at other resources is, oh, I'm blanking on this one thing. Let me do a quick check.
So with this system, it's impossible to get 100%, even if you're working on your own?
It is possible to get 100%. Basically, once I normalize the test scores, I look at the most number of points gotten on any one problem, and that basically establishes what 100% is. So if you have the highest score on every single problem, then you'll have 100%. I've been doing that for a while now. Just, I haven't done for the take-home test, I've been doing it since since the summer of the more people who get it right, the less it's worth. So you could get, you get maximum points if you're the only person who gets a problem right. I guess you could mess with people and give them wrong answers. I don't necessarily expect them to associate with you after that, but that's an option. And they're coming up with all sorts of systems for monitoring to try to eliminate cheating. And part of it is scan the room, make sure the camera scans the room before you take the test so somebody can see who else is in there. And it won't allow you to flip over to some other page. If you're taking it on the computer, you can't flip to another page on the computer, it will catch that. And I thought, that doesn't stop you from using your phone or something like that to go to another page. Unless it's that invasive, and I don't think it is. So anyway, that's how the last test is gonna roll. When I am planning, right now the plan is to open it up, I think the 9th is the last day of class, December 9th. So I was planning to open it up on Monday the 7th, in the morning. I might make it a little bit earlier, but right now my thinking was open up Monday morning on the 7th. And then once you begin it, you have 3 hours. So you may begin it anytime between then and I think Wednesday at 6 or 9 is what I've done, whatever the last day is. I think I have it 6 o'clock is, I want it by 9 o'clock on whatever that last day is. That's where the thinking is at the moment. So once you begin it, you have 3 hours. And then you will submit it by scanning it or taking a picture and sending it to me. I'm not gonna go on to, I'm gonna get an email with your test, with your work. I'm not gonna go on the Blackboard and, I hate working with Blackboard. That's what it comes down to. I don't wanna go into Blackboard and try to figure out what you're saying there when it'd be so much easier for me to read what you have written down. Now, with that said, when you take a picture or scan it or whatever you're gonna do in order to submit it to me, please make sure it's readable. I have had some taken with such poor resolution that I have no idea what the squiggles are. I have taken some with such lack of clarity, it was just out of focus. I've gotten it submitted where it's so lightly printed, I have to sort of guess. And because this is the end of the semester, I can't come back to you and go, is this a 3 here? So please make sure I can read it. Max, you had a question?
I was gonna ask about that.
Okay.
I have a question. So we would take the test on Blackboard?
No, the test, so when I open it up, you'll go into assignments under the Blackboard course, and it's usually, what I've done in the past is it's at the very top, very first assignment, it'll show up as test 3 or 4, or whatever I'm calling it. And sometimes I go, hey, this is the one you want. So I write something off to the side just to make it clear, just with an arrow pointing at it. You open it up. What I finally did, what I've done in the past, before this last test for the online group, is I took each problem and transferred it into a Blackboard problem. So if it were 10 problems, then you have basically 10 problems there. And then pictures became really hard. So I would take a picture and then I'd post that along with the test question. And then suddenly I thought, how about if I just post the test? Since people aren't giving me answers back through Blackboard, they're actually giving me, answers on separate paper or on the test paper if they can print it out. So the last time I did it, I just posted the test, the PDF right there.
And then we can print the test?
Yeah, and you can download it, print it, write your answers on it, or don't print it if you.
So you said that we have 3 hours to do it?
From once you begin.
Yeah, I think you should have like an extra hour so we can upload everything.
Yeah,
take
so
a
we
picture
can print
of
it
everything.
and then upload it. Is that counted in?
Takes an hour to.
Well,
I
like,
mean-
what if my Wi-Fi went down and then I had to fix it and then I try to print out the paper and I find out I'm out of ink?
'Cause
It has, then what you do is you just let me know when you send it to me. No one in here has done anything to make me not trust you, so.
So we'll be emailing you our work?
Yes.
Okay.
There's Cam Scanner is something that a student has used in the past where they,
It
They-
turns into a PDF.
yeah. I'm not pushing that in necessarily, but that's what somebody used this summer and it seemed to work well. I suggested it, and right now for the online class, some do that, some just take a picture of each individual page. One person takes a picture of each individual page and puts it into a PDF, just to see which, in case one is easier to read than the other. I will do the best I can with what you send me. So, any other questions at the moment?
So what is the MC test gonna be exactly?
The multiple choice test is that test you took on the first day. That multiple choice, the pure all concept.
Okay,
Vaguely remember it? Don't remember it at all?
vaguely.
Vaguely, okay. It was that 30-question multiple choice test you took the first day. This time, we've gone over the material.
Okay. Okay. yeah,
There's
no,
sort of a preset grading scale on that one. If,
Is it gonna still include the questions about like syllabus questions that the one?
Anybody remember any of the questions from that test?
The ball from the plane.
Okay.
That one.
Is it the same test?
It is the same test.
Like exact same?
Yes, it is.
I'm trying to remember the question.
There was one with like 2 cars, one with
There's
heavier
one with
mass
the
and smaller
ball,
mass.
and then like which path it goes.
Yeah, that like paths and stuff. But yeah, how would we know that? Like that the actual path? Because you would give us like, for example, that ball rolling out of a plane, and then you said which path was correct from the 4.
Right?
How would we like? You can't determine that, I guess. Would you just have to think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's conceptual test. So,
That makes sense.
yeah, there, no calculator required. Actually, if you're using a calculator, then I'm not quite sure what you're doing. All right, other questions at the moment?
I still have a question about the 3-hour
Yes.
time limit. So like the folder is only open for 3 hours?
No, all right. So I have the ability to know when you open it.
Oh.
So if I want to know how long, I look at the time that you sent me the email and I look at the time that you opened it. If it is 20 hours, then something's definitely suspect there.
So is there like a little leeway? Like if you.
Yeah, I mean,
If you choose to take the full 3 hours to work on the test and then you submit it?
And it's happened. I'm assuming you're working on it for 3 hours and at that point. So what I did on the most recent one with the online group, which I don't know why I didn't do it before, work after 3 hours, send me what you have. And then you can sit, and if you still want to work on the parts that you didn't get to yet, work on those and then send those to me separately. I'll treat it like test corrections or something like that.
Okay.
You won't get full credit for it, but you get something for it. So far, I was about to say no one's abused the system. There's one I suspect has abused the system over the summer, but not enough to make me become draconian about it, and I'm hoping I don't have to. So don't abuse the system to where I have to suddenly do double the amount of bookkeeping I have to do and suddenly come up with 3 pages worth of rules. So there's the spirit of the rule. You got 3 hours to take it. Send me what you got at 3 hours. Anything past 3 hours, send that to me separately. Any questions right now? And this will be in writing also at some point. Just giving you.
Wait, so when does it first open up?
I think I said the 7th. Right now, the plan is December 7th.
And until when? Is it just?
The 9th is the last day of class. Matter of fact, at midnight, at 11:59 p.m. on the 9th, I think Blackboard's taken away from you. You can't get on Blackboard after that.
Okay.
Now, I might open it up so that people have the weekends, because I know some people are working, especially online group. They work during the week, maybe have the weekend free. So I might open it up before the 7th, but right now originally I was picturing you have Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, sometime pick 3 hour time slot sometime in there.
So we have a master set and a lab due on Thursday.
All right, so the master set for 10 and 11, I went ahead and pushed that off to Tuesday if you want, but if you got it on Thursday, I'll take it.
Yeah, Tuesday, I think would be nice.
Okay. Kyle's want to put in the request on that one? There's something about this row, I guess Lawson's gonna do the next request, looks like he's gonna push it off. All right, any other questions before we talk about chapter 12 and 13 and quizzes on, I guess, 9 and 10 and 11? All right, so let's talk about further assessments. still want to stick with the master sets, so the master sets are gonna be things that will be handed in. Let's see, I wanted test corrections to, so this was the target for test 1B corrections. Perfect. Legible. And get stressed out over this, that Thanksgiving, I feel like that's it, the core sentence at Thanksgiving, I know that's not true, but it's still that gut feeling here. Because you've got the master set for 12 and 13, which is, I was thinking I combine that into one. And then master set for 16, 17, and 18 are all one thing.
I think it might be two separate ones.
Yeah.
Two separate ones, okay. All right, so we have master set 12, master set 13, and then there's a 16 through 18, which is one, I know that. So I guess the 26th is Thanksgiving. T-Day. And so this would be December 1st. 3rd. 8th, and then 9th and if it's not December 9th, December 9th is not the last day. Hopefully somebody will correct me. Yeah, we keep pushing this stuff. I'd rather have these in, so if we made the master set 12 and 13 due the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, is that a hardship for anyone? Or is that possibly that's just I deal with you as an individual? The master set 12 and 13 due December 1st. So we're not meeting, so it doesn't necessarily have to be on Tuesday, but we'll make it December 1st anyway. And leave 16 through 18. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm not going to officially have 16 through 18 assigned. Strongly recommend you still do it. I'll post the solutions for 16 through 18 eventually.
The 9th is the last day of class then.
Okay, good, all right, thank you. I have not been wrong about that. So that leaves homework quizzes. Because at this point, you've had the quiz on 8 and 9, and so you have not had the quiz on 10 through 13. There's 4 chapters you have not had a homework quiz on. We can just not have the homework quizzes. That is an option. It obviously slightly increases the weight of each quiz you've already had. I've done the optional thing before. Not really fond of that solution, but I have done it before. And we do quiz on some of those 4 chapters. Any thoughts? You're just open to anything.
I think we should do like half and half, so like chapter 10 to 13, you can do 10 and 11. A quiz on 10 and 11, master set, or.
Oh, do either the homework quiz or master set for each of those chapters? Like do 2 of them as master set and 2 of them as quizzes?
Mhm.
I'm okay with that too.
That way, like, I feel like that would force at least me to learn the content.
All right, so 10 and 11 is the momentum stuff. Oh, that's the stuff that's already, we already set a due date for that. Then let's keep. I know you said half and half, is that, you just don't want to do both for each chapter? Is that what ultimately your goal is, or?
Yeah, basically, yeah, so like, we won't have to do a master set and a quiz for 2 chapters.
Then let's just stick with the master sets as scheduled right here. We just won't have the homework quiz. There are problems and solutions posted for 10 and 13 now. If you want to do a homework quiz because you want to either dilute the grades that you already have or potentially bring up, then we'll talk individually. And I'll do that on a one-off basis. All right?
So
I think-
basically no homework quiz for 10, 11, 12, and 13.
And
Unless
16
you
through
want-
18, right?
Oh yeah, unless you want to. do
Yes,
something.
that's the way it's looking right now.
So there's no master set or quiz for 16 through 18?
Right, not that will be graded. There is a master set that is posted, and I
Yeah.
will eventually post solutions. Again, highly recommend that you go through those, but yeah, not posted explicitly, or not an assignment, an explicit assignment, which you will hand in.
Will we have lab after Thanksgiving?
Trying to think how that breaks out. There might be one. It'll be the way that I do the labs for online, way I did it in the spring, is I've done the lab. Some of you might have already gone through this if you missed one. I've done the lab, and then there's a video of it, and you go through and you pull the data out from the video. And then do it's as if you're really there.
Can we do that for these labs
For these labs,
that we have currently? I feel like last week, me and my group didn't really get good data.
I will talk to you individually on that one if there's an issue we need to address there. The only issue I have on the filming is that there's a vibrating string lab where basically a string is vibrating up and down like this, and it's sending signals down one way and they're coming back, and there's interference patterns. And it's vibrating about 60 hertz. The camera, the rate of the shutter speed's about 60 hertz. And so what you see through the camera is just a string that's not moving because it's picking it up, well, basically in the same, roughly the same spot as it just was. It's an interesting effect, but I'm not quite sure it really helps the understanding. I explained that it's really vibrating back and forth even though you can't see it. Just like being there. So in terms of labs afterwards, I have to go and check to see what labs I have filmed already, because I can't remember actually if there's one afterwards or not. All right. Let's talk about chapter 16. Or 16 through 18, they sort of blurred in my mind. There we go. So we'll start out with simple harmonic motion. There are 3 parts to this. It must be simple, it must be harmonic, and there must be motion. Clever the way they labeled this. So the speed is not 0 meters per second. Because there are a number of these where sometimes you end up with solutions where, well, if you just let it's not moving at all, you got it. No, it has to move. The harmonic means that there is repetitive motion. And simple, no friction. It will go on forever, given a choice. Well, actually, it won't be given a choice, it will go on forever. Now, things that obey simple harmonic motion obey Hooke's law, which we've talked about already, but this is the point where we get into it a little bit more formally. So Hooke's law. Now, when Hooke was first developed this, he wanted to test it a little bit more, but he also wanted to make claim. And so back in the 1600s, I believe it was, what he did is he wrote out the expression to something along the lines of, as the force goes, so goes the stretch. He turned it and he wrote it out, translated it into Latin, and then scrambled the letters around in Latin, just so that he could make claim to having discovered this later after he's done for full testing of it. It seemed bizarre like a bizarre story until I found out this was basically the quick and dirty copyright, the claim that, yeah, I did it first because, hey, here's a bunch of letters, if you re-scramble them this way, this is what it says. All right, so a couple of vocabulary words that we will face on this. Frequency. Now, the symbol for frequency that I use is an F. Looks a lot like the same F I use for friction, because it is the same F I use for friction. Now, here's the fun part of the symbol used for frequency is that the more advanced textbooks will not use the letter F for frequency. They will use the Greek letter nu, in-u, which looks like that. Except in some fonts it actually looks like that. Looks a lot like a V. There's a formula that we will deal with that frequency is equal, sorry, try that one again, that the speed is equal to frequency times the wavelength. And if you use the letter nu, it will show up in a book like that. Except different fonts sometimes will make it look like that. Now, the reason I bring this up, my first semester here, I was sitting in my office and I had a student come by who was taking a nano class, and she said, I can't understand why there's two V's in this equation. Because the textbook she was using, they were using the letter nu for frequency. Now, the reason why I've drawn it both ways like this is indeed it is different fonts. And when I'm looking at a textbook which uses nu for frequency, first thing I do is I look for this equation to figure out which one's the V and which one's the nu, because it's not always obvious. Now, in class, F just makes it simpler. But in case you're looking at other resources, just recognize you might run into this. This is how often repetitive motion happens. The units of frequency, the SI unit of frequency is the hertz, is a hertz. Named after? Somebody just said it quietly.
Hertz.
Yep. Not the rental car company. And it's basically, it's oscillations per, hertz is oscillations per second, or cycles per second. It's something per second. Sometimes instead of hertz, they will just write S with a -1 right there. That potentially can be confusing when we get into angular frequency, but we will not there yet. Period. We've done period before. The cap symbol I use is the capital T, and this is the time or one cycle of repetitive motion. So frequency is the cycles per second, or per time, and period is the time per cycle. They're just reciprocals of each other. Frequency is 1 over the period. And I know you're gonna be shocked by this next one. Period is 1 over frequency. I get situations like that, I'm going, all right, in quantum physics, does that always hold still? I'm pretty sure it does. Just, in quantum, you get to quantum physics, sometimes the rules just get thrown out the window. As one person put it, they just made stuff up and happened to be right. There's experiment to support their hypothesis. They cooked the spaghetti, threw it against the wall, and it seemed to stick, at least while they were watching. Angular frequency. The symbol is an omega. The SI unit for a period is seconds. Looks a lot like the same symbol for angular speed. The SI unit for angular frequency is radians per second. A lot like for angular speed. It has the exact same symbol, exact same units. There's a philosophical difference between the two. Wavelength. The symbol is a lambda, or as one student called it, the drunken T. I haven't defined angular frequency, we'll get to it later. Wavelength is distance traveled in one period. So if I have a long coil and I'm sending pulses down it, so my arm's going back and forth in a particular amount of time, so there's a certain amount of time for my arm to go from one spot out and then back. So the time it takes for my arm to do that, to basically create one cycle, is the period. And in that time, my wave has been sent outwards. So the speed of my wave